Today on Parts Hold, we are joined by the Demon Seed, Cliff's cat. We are also going to finish our long list of the best practices of the top performing parts departments from around North America. And then Cliff's going to share a couple other things about just his love for animals, which is completely appropriate. That and much more coming up today on Parts Hold.
We'll be right back.
If you're just joining us, Cliff and I have been pre-recording for the last 25 minutes. He's been trying to convince me that his cat is like a dog and comes when called. So for the first 15 of the 25 minutes I've been watching this disaster unfold, the cat has been appropriately licking its crotch. And now the cat somehow meandered over towards Cliff, and the way, and please just understand, Cliff says, "Oh, this cat will come to me and jump on my lap like a dog would." And so for the last 5 minutes, as the cat moved in Cliff's direction and jumping on Cliff's lap was Cliff picking the animal up and putting it next to him. So can we introduce Max into the podcast, Cliff?
Max. You want to
come here, Max. Come on, Max.
Come be live.
Heel, Max. And that is Max the cat.
It's kind of like when you with your kids. So as soon as you want something to happen, the complete opposite happens in complete chaos.
Yeah, I understand that completely, actually. But it's funny. I do think that cat likes you and it's not plotting to kill you. So I kind of like, of all the cats that I don't like, I like that one the least.
What's funny what's funny about him, as you say that, he is definitely of the three that we have, he's the one that you can be petting and he's going to turn around and bite you.
Okay, now that sounds very cat-like, not very dog-like, which your claim to this animal was that it was like a dog. I would say, if you want a cat that's like a dog, could you just get a dog?
Yeah, we got.
And then it won't plot to kill you.
We've got three of those too.
I think it's great that you're an animal lover, though.
This is way more my wife bringing them home and saying we're getting them than it is that I'm an animal lover.
Yeah, but I think she also only brings them home because she knows you're not going to say no. Because I think that you're deep down, like you have a big heart, and I think that your wife also, just phenomenal people, big-hearted people, and usually that kind of stuff comes out in how we treat animals. So I'm super excited for your cat that doesn't act like a dog, but you think it, and it's good to have Max on the show. So. Max, what do you think about bin counts? Oh, I see. Okay. So we're pretty excited for today. We're doing part 2 of our best practices of the top performing parts departments that Cliff has visited. So as he's been traveling around and going and working with different clients, he's been making a little list of the things that he's noticed, like those commonalities of the top performing parts departments. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but I'm also really excited because we're not too far off now of Cliff actually joining me in studio, which is going to come up here as we have our top dog, which is, do you remember the dates, Cliff?
The 17th, 18th, 19th?
I think it's the 17th and 18th of October.
17th, 18th, I'm sorry.
So we're no, you're right. You're right at first. So go with your gut instinct. So October 17th and 18th. I'm pretty sure by the time this thing airs, it'll be sold out. But we were really close to selling out just in general. We also have I don't know if you even know this, Cliff, but in September, we have that master class every month for like general managers, service managers, parts managers. We hold that out in Los Angeles. It's a 2-day event. First time since in as long as I've been with Chris Collins, it's full.
Wow.
We can't fit any more people in there.
Wow. So anybody who wanted to come for September is going to have to be reverted to October, pushed out to
To
October.
October. Yep. So
Wow.
we've started to funnel that overflow into the October masterclass. But how cool is that?
I think it's a testament to the marketplace and what's going on, and that people are needing help.
Yeah. So I think that service managers, parts managers, general managers, they're raising their hand and saying either I need help or I'm looking for the edge. And I feel like this list is kind of a culmination of that ladder of the two people. It's people that are just constantly looking for an edge in their parts department. And I think that's kind of a nice segue into what we're going to discuss on the second half of the list. I thought the first half of the list was really good, but this is, to me, it's a little bit better. But before you get started, can you recap the 5 things from the last episode?
Is number 10, avoid discount conversation. Number 9 is online sales. Number 8 is boutiques. You could put / accessories. Number 7 is inventory efficiencies. And then number 6 is partnership at the dealership.
Yeah, so let's get into today's list, and I think it's a really good follow up to the last episode. And what is your next best practice?
Can I add something before we do that? That any of the first 5 that we talked about, and this list as well, you could move some of these around. Probably as we get down to the 4, they're key. The bottom 4 are going to be huge. So with that said, number 5 is smart hiring, and I think it's vital that we start hiring for those that can elevate the business. Oftentimes we've been guilty. I've been super notorious for it, or super guilty of it in my previous life. Is hiring just for a position and a body, and we really got to evaluate some people. The places that are really operating at a really high level have a really good vetting process for new employees and a really good onboarding process. But smart hiring is key to all of that, and making a good assessment early on.
So thinking back to that early hiring that you did, because I know you're very strategic about it now. Were you hiring because you liked them?
I think more I was probably guilty of hiring because they had DMS experience, or they
Yep.
had brand experience, something to that. I never, I shouldn't say never. I didn't early on focus on the individual and what their characteristics were, what their traits were, what their ethics were, who they were. Did they have the same values that we had as a company, and those type of things? Like, I think about the process. If I separated, my 2 lives, so to speak, if I went back to early on management and hiring people versus the hiring process that we do as a company, and what I went through with that, like, it's a very, very different experience. And it even, got better as time went on. But if I had an opportunity to do it differently, like, I would steal a lot of the stuff that we do.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely identify with you that I hired for a long time, and I think I got this from a coworker once, and he was kind of doing the same way. I remember him telling me, and I wasn't exactly like this, but his thing was like, I'll never hire somebody I wouldn't go have a beer with, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Whereas, and I don't think that he meant it in that he would only hire him if he would go have a beer with him. It was like if they checked all the other boxes, then that a fact that like he liked them or didn't like them also had to be part of it. But I think that I heard way too much off of emotion. I wasn't looking logically at like what is the past performance, what's the potential for future performance, where does this person want to go, what do they bring to the business. When you said that, I was like, one of those things. I've hired because of DMS experience. I've just hired because of experience before, and then didn't verify whether it was good performance or not. Like, when I was in service, I'm pretty sure did a really good job sometimes of recruiting like the worst advisor from my competitors. Like there's just
Exact same thing.
yeah, but I think that, especially in a parts department, there are so few positions you can't afford to hire wrong, and you don't have a spot for like a wasted draft pick, if you will.
Yeah, and there's another. We did another episode a while back. Actually, I think it's the one that James Balmer was a part of, where we talked about hiring. Which is,
He is a hiring master.
yeah, if you get a chance to go back, if you're listening, you haven't listened to that episode. It's probably been almost a year. No,
Frightening.
uh,
No, it was when we were all in person.
yeah, so it'd been April. Um, there's a thing there. With how to do it and what to look for, and we talk about it in the episode. But hiring smart is a big key to that. I know we have had a lengthy conversation, you and I personally, and as a staff, about process or people. In this situation, simply talking about making smart hires and the decisions that we make that go along with that, uh, not making them hasty.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's good too.
What's the
Have
thing?
you heard that old adage, like hire slow, fire fast
I
thing?
was just trying to think of it. That's exactly what it is. Hire
Yeah,
slow, fire fast. Yep, yep. That's it.
I think that I can hire medium now. I definitely used to hire a little bit slower, but what I don't do is cut corners. Um, so when we hire someone here at our company, like it's a requirement that, and you know what, man, I know this is probably going to go too far into the hiring thing, and I know we have other stuff to get on this list, but like there are things that I won't compromise on. Like one is doing we have two personality tests that anyone that comes onto our team, whether it's sales or coaching, they have to do two personality tests. And probably the biggest thing, and I think that so many people get lazy with this, is reference checks.
But completely agree with that. Like
And if
completely.
you want to hire good people, reference checks is ideal. So I'll give you an example of somebody that we're kind of in the recruiting phase. We haven't hired this person yet, but a good sign that you've got a really really solid candidate in front of you. I emailed the guy at like 3:57, and I said, "Hey, would you mind providing with three references? I'd like to give them all a call tomorrow." And at 4:02, he gave me four references. At 5:02, he emailed me back and said, "Hey, I reached out to everybody to let them know that you're going to be contacting them."
I, I looking back on hires, the ones that I didn't do, I think in the there's a documentary about the art of coaching with Saban and Belichick, and one of the things that Saban says in there is that he has become an and but guy, meaning when he's talking about a recruit or was talking about a recruit, he was always and they're this and that and but they're also this, and he said whenever he hears those two words, they are always true. And looking back on that, like yeah, the references. I think references are key.
And even I think that it's key twofold, right? So one is the speed of which and the quantity of which references someone can provide, and then the second thing is the truth is that most people aren't. You're not allowed to say too much stuff, but the my favorite question of all the questions that I would ask, and sometimes when I call references, they don't ask every question that or answer every question that I ask. But I think the most telling one is this person eligible for rehire? Don't you think that tells you everything you need to know?
I think that one does. Normally, when you talk to someone, if they won't shut up about the person, it's a pretty good sign. Like if they
Agreed.
just sing their praises and stuff like that, it's a great one. So smart hire is key there. Number four is absolutely vital to the performance of your department, and it's recording lost sales. You would be shocked at how many stores don't record them, and some that kind of dip their toes in the water. The ones that are operating really, really efficient are the ones that are recording lost sales on everything.
Can you count the stores that are doing it right on one hand? Is it that rare?
No, because I've been working with some groups that are large, and so I would definitely say two hands, and it's in the well over 50 mark of stores that I've talked to that don't.
Oh, that's great. I don't think that was the case 3 years ago.
No. I'm saying over 50 that don't. I'm saying I can
Oh,
count
okay.
on my hand the stores that on two hands that are doing it and doing it well. Um, and their inventories are reflected of that. We just got an email today of a client. Those stores are doing it well.
Yeah, that looked really good, that report.
So focusing on the lost sales. And the other thing I would say while we're talking about lost sales is too many parts managers are overthinking the lost sale thing. Like they're trying to make an assessment whether it's a lost sale. If you can't go to the shelf and get it, it's a lost sale.
Yeah,
I don't
make it
care if you,
simple.
yeah, and I don't care if you picked it up from Napa. If you can't go to your shelf and get it, it's a lost sale.
I love that you said that right at the beginning. Definition. That's the key to lost sale is that you have a clear definition, and everyone in the parts department has the same definition.
The other thing there too is don't let your counter people overthink it either. If you want to get simple, I'll just throw this out there. You could do as simple as writing it down. The difference in writing it down in DMS, like I'm not so keen on that. You're going to post them anyway, but recording them is key. Huge, huge,
That's
huge.
great. I'm not surprised that's on the list.
Okay, that brings me to number three, and you would be, again, probably not shocked, but I have to say it. You would be shocked at how many stores I go in, and it doesn't matter if I'm working with the service department or the parts department, but this happens and they're out of fast-moving stuff. And remembering from my time as a service director, there's nothing more frustrating than for my technician to drain oil and not have a filter or not have oil or whatever. Those stores that are really focused on the fast moving stuff and keeping their hands on it and really dialing into the fast moving items, those stores are going to be the ones that are operating at a higher level in the economy that we're living in and the state that we're living in within the automotive world.
Is there any valid reason somebody would run out of inventory on a fast moving part?
Christian, if I were truthful, I would say that I don't understand how it happens. However, if I was truthful, I would say it happened to me. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying we're way more in tune, and it's really in this case, it's way more our reaction to it than it is the fact that it happened. How we recover from it, how we go forward, what we do in that instant matters way more than it happening because there is a chance that it could happen. There's a dozen different ways that it could happen, but I'm more inclined to say our reaction to it is and how we recover from it.
Yeah, I think running out twice is the sin. Running out one time is like poor planning or something to that effect, or not adjusting to like a change in business or something like that. Like a
Yeah,
one time, I could see it happening. Two times is just you taking your eye off the ball, and I think that even the first time you probably would admit this is when it happened to you is probably the same as when it is like you're not paying attention to certain signs on the wall that you'd usually I would guess what happens before you completely run out of an inventory of a fast moving part. You got close a couple of times and didn't change it would
there,
probably be what happened.
there's probably a couple items that we could have added onto this list that we didn't. But some free one, if you will. There's a stockout report in most DMSs that you could run, and that would eliminate that. So that could have been on this list. But
Okay.
and even we could have thrown that in there on the fast moving item. But paying attention to that stuff and really being in tune with it, that also, and again, much like you said earlier, I don't get too far in the weeds, but this is also contingent on me being involved with the service department directly too as a parts manager, so that I know what's kind of taking place in the landscape of business and what's changing. And
Yeah, you should be getting appointment reports and stuff like that. Like you should have an idea of where you're headed. I remember my parts managers were always really, really good about recall parts. Like we would scour the like when it was tight, and this I'm going back to Takata recalls, so the airbag recalls,
mm-hmm.
and I was so proud of my parts department. Like if it was Wednesday's business, on Monday, because we would be booked out like 3 or 4 days, on Monday, they would pull all the parts, put the people's names on them, and then they had an appointment shelf. And at the end of it was only for like the one day was the appointment shelf. So it was like, if we pulled a Monday for Wednesdays, we would have a 2 day bin. So it was like Friday you pulled Tuesdays, and then Monday you pulled Wednesdays. And then as soon as Wednesday's done, whatever didn't get goes back on the shelf, everything like that. But they would label them with the customer's name, which I thought was really, really great. But it was also, I think it helped out show rates, because the BDC would tell the customer, hey, we've secured these parts for you and we've set them to the side. If you're not going to be able to make it, let me know, because someone else is going to want those things. And guess what the show rate was?
100% probably.
Once we committed to them that we did a thing, they showed.
Yeah.
And that was all the parts department's idea.
Yeah, the worst thing if I were a customer, the worst thing for me is to take my time, go show up, and then you tell me that it's not there. Like, that's recalls could have made the list too.
Yeah, probably in proactive versus reactive and all that stuff. Yeah, this could have been a 20 item list, I think.
Yeah,
maybe three volumes or 3 episodes worth of best practice.
3. But all that, what you're saying, brings me to the second piece of this, or the second item on my list, and it's having a definitive, defined special order process. Too many stores are leaving it up to a chance and leaving it up to a hope, and that's a terrible business plan. The ones that are really doing it and doing it well have an intention, and they have a process that's written out for everyone to see and be a part of, and they have a whole process. And again, it doesn't really matter if you have it in some kind of Google Doc or whatever. I just went to a store that had it written up on the board. If I showed you a picture of this thing, I'd almost love to post it up in here, but like, he wrote it all up and everything. It was color coded, and it moved from this column to that column. And man, it was a work of art. But there was no question when the advisor needed to know. He just walked over to parts, looked at the board, and it's on the board, and he went back. But also having a process available to, what do your deposits look like, and who's in charge of contacting the customer, and how am I getting that information through the proper channels and to the proper people? Like, the whole thing behind special orders is having a written out process behind it. And follow.
I agree, and I think that you and I have both said this in the past, but you can almost tell everything you need to know about a parts department by how they handle special order parts. It is the biggest, like, crystal ball into the health of a parts department.
You could walk into any parts department anywhere in America, walk to the special order shelf, and it will tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I like that you brought up deposits, because I was just going to see if you've seen the same thing I've been seeing and hearing lately. Is I've got a lot more clients that they're not doing deposits; they're taking payment in full before the order, and I'm really leaning towards, I think that's a best practice for a customer pay part.
Yeah, I think the worst one to me is trying to define a dollar amount that you're putting on it, because then it kind of is up to interpretation from whoever the party is involved in it. It's way more about, I think you've got to do full price now. With as tight as constraints is on returning items and just that whole process, having a full deposit. Yeah, that's a big one.
And I feel like I would tell a customer that too, right? If they're like, oh, why do I have to pay for the whole thing up front? I would just say 2 things. One is that the return policies aren't quite what they used to be. And 2, I know if you pay in full, you're coming to get it. I would just be really honest with them.
Well, you can say that in a really nice way. It doesn't, you're not being, you don't have to be a jerk about it. Like, and not that you were being a jerk in that scenario, but there's a really nice way to put it.
I was not trying to be a jerk. It just seems like that's how you took it.
It's just natural. It just comes out. But that item is it's the largest contributor to my number one item.
Oh, you know what's funny is, like, you've done a thing where they've almost cascaded into each other. It's super impressive. Well done, sir.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. If we could almost do a drum roll because I think some people are going to be shocked that this is number one, but there's tons of people who are not going to be shocked that this is number one. But number one, most best business practice that I've seen is having a extremely low obsolete parts inventory. Your
It
obsolescence has
may
to be really, really low. I don't know that I fully appreciated it as a parts manager early on in my career specifically. I never really understood what the impact caused on the entire store if I had a high level of obsolete parts or uh, slow moving inventory, whatever you want to call it, but inventory that wasn't moving, that I invested the dealer's money incorrectly in. And now I've tied up that capital. And if you're a GM or owner, I got your back on this one. Like it frees up a lot of things and allows you a lot of freedom. I also know that the stores that have super low obsolete inventory or obsolescence in their inventory also have super efficient inventories. They also cover all the fast moving parts. They also are posting all their lost sales. Like all the things that we've talked about, they're doing really, really well. And the proof is in the obsolete inventory. If there's one other item, I know we said the special order shelf, but if there's one other item that I can see the health of the business, that the department, it's obsolete inventory.
Yeah, no doubt. And you could make a case though they go hand in hand because a lot of times if you have a sloppy SOP, it contributes to your obsolescence and all that stuff. Like it's all this stuff does kind of cascade into each other. I'm really impressed how you built this list, man. Well,
Appreciate
go
it.
ahead and recap it again.
Yep. Number 5 is hiring smart. Number 4 is that we are recording and posting lost sales. Number 3 is that we're really in tune with fast moving parts. Number 2 is that we have a written, documented special order process. And number 1 is that we have a super low level of obsolete inventory.
Yeah, and I know that we kind of hopped into the weeds on some of the things on this list. I mean, it's because we're passionate about it, and because I really think these are the difference makers between the people that are just kind of getting along and the people that are getting to the next level.
Yeah, and
Um,
listen, if you need help with this stuff, reach out to us. We can help with these items.
yeah, we Cliff and I actually always read the comments on YouTube, by the way. So if you put comments in YouTube, I like if people put jokes in, which is
It's
but maybe
material
that's
reuse.
not always the thing. Material reuse.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a situation last night where somebody texted me a joke, and it's not really a joke. It's just like a kind of comment. It's like I keep all of my dad jokes in a database. Is what he texted me. So database.
Yeah. Not, the
Yeah,
dad jokes are
but
so hard to me.
yeah, but I responded back with a picture of that joke on a T-shirt that I own.
Oh, that's even worse. Even worse.
It's so terrible.
So,
Um, Good stuff. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed these last two episodes. It definitely like kind of this is like a really current list, and these are the things that are happening in parts departments today. Like high performing parts departments, 40, 50, 60% net to gross. Like these are the things that they're doing, and I'm sure Cliff would tell you the same exact thing. If you're doing really, really, really well in parts, it's not an accident. It's a combination of probably the majority of the 10 things on this 2-part episode list.
yes.
So if you missed the last episode, go back and watch it. It's just as cool, if not cooler, than this list. The only thing about today's episode is we had Cliff's cat on there, so I don't know if anyone's going to want to watch this one. But in the event that you did, please tune in next time for Parts Hold.
Here to fill the order.